Derealization is a very, very common thing. When you start awakening and you go past that edge where you think you cannot make it back. Trust me, I've been there. Whether you want to think it's psychosis, whether you think this was a plant medicine induced, whether this was natural, it doesn't matter. I want you to let you know that everything is energy, right? We are not human. You see, we are having a human experience. That does not mean that you are human. And now that you have experienced this tangibly, you cannot go back. This is why I put warnings on a lot of my videos on TikTok and Instagram, because people are really into spirituality. People are really into the third eye and opening the chakras and kundalini energy and all of this stuff. However, they are not willing to accept the responsibilities that come with it. Right? This is not about just, seeing demons or getting past, angels or whatever. No. This is about unlocking higher consciousness. This is about getting in tune with your intuition, getting away from these old paradigm, controlling, habitual people, and getting into this ascension that is happening on this planet right now. Now, all of us are experiencing this, whether you like it or not. You see, those people that are trapped in that samsara, that are trapped in the matrix, that have no idea what spirituality is, this is called ignorance. You see, and ignorance is not bliss. And I'm saying this on purpose because I know that you're feeling this derealization. I know you're feeling depression, anxiety, and overwhelming emotions simply because you now know that you are an infinite spirit and you cannot go back to that personality that you identified with in the past. I'm going to be straight up with you. It's not going to happen. You can continue to try and try all you want. However, it is not going to happen. All right. Now, here we are experiencing this together, right? Because trust me, I've been there many, many times. This derealization is a very real thing. What you have to understand is everybody on a certain level has experienced it. You see? Now, whether they have coped with it or not, and whether they are actually bringing something positive into their life because of that spiritual experience or because of that plant medicine experience or because of whatever it is that caused the awakening, that's a whole nother conversation. Now remember, you, the ego, might think this is overwhelming. You, the lower self, might think this is something uncomfortable. However, your higher self has brought you this experience for a very specific reason. Have you unlocked that yet? Have you learned that life lesson yet? Because remember, we're all spiritual beings having this human experience, and everybody walking around in that ignorance will someday leave the body too, right? There's no way getting around of birth, old age, right? Disease, and eventually death, right? You've made that soul contract. You signed the dotted line, and here you are, manifested right here in physical form. That means there are consequences, right? These are the laws of the universe. Now, I'm not saying this as negativity. I'm saying this as a positivity. You see what I mean? Because now that you've pierced that veil, now that you understand that you are on this reincarnation wheel called samsara, now that you are going through all of this, you should have this cosmic view where you can look back and go, whoa, I was a monk. I was a nun. I was living in South Africa. I was doing this. I was doing that in a previous life. And here I am in this one, picking up where I left off. Look at this intelligence. Look at this knowledge that you've been gifted with. Only if you have that perspective from the higher self. Again, if you're trapped in the lower self, that's when the depression kicks in. That's when the derealization symptoms kick in, right? Because you're trying to fit in with everybody else and you're trying to go back to that job or back to that relationship or back to that food group, and it ain't gonna happen. You see, there's a reason why your palate is changing. There's a reason why your energy is changing and you're not attracted to those things that you were attracted to before. Now, the more you embrace these things, the quality of life will go up. The more you resist these things, the more the suffering will go up. So the choice is yours. I'm here to just reinstate the fact that your higher self has always been there, guiding you to this moment right here in the eternal now. So are you going to have more resistance and continue to kick and scream, right? Like a little kid going through as your higher self drags you along? Or are you going to embrace these things and make it a little bit more of a dance, right? Put a little bit more effort, a little more grace, a little more compassion into your journey and see where it takes you. You see, because these are all happening from the infinite self. These are all happening because you chose them to happen, right? You are here to wake up. And yes, it's uncomfortable, isn't it? You have to grow this body up. You have to give it nutrients. You have to feed it. You have to get in some social structure, right? Because we're tribal beings. You can't just isolate yourself anymore. You see, all of that needed to happen, and you did integrate this experience. Now it's time to return back, right? With this upgrade, this new foundation that is you as the infinite self instead of the old I identifying with the personality, right? Everybody has to go through this, whether they like it or not. You just happen to do it consciously before the physical body passes on to the next transition. And this is a very, very good thing, because let me reassure you that all of this, all right, is nothing less than a miracle. What we call human life is nothing less than a miracle. You have a very specific body right now, a very specific form that is allowing you to check all of those boxes off, relieve the karma, and finally finish this once and for all. Or you can trap yourself in another round of samsara and create another body and do it all over again. The choice is yours. Now, this derealization is a very, very common thing when you, again, have gone over the edge and you have lost, right? You've lost all angles of life itself, because that old personality, where the parameters was the cage itself. And now that the cage is gone, the bird is just flying, right? This is a very beautiful thing as long as you can tolerate it through the ego, through the lower self. This is the integration process. This is the integration phase, which is the most important phase out of all three levels of energy. So do not neglect yourself on that deeper foundational level, which is the spirit soul. No longer catering to just the physical meat suit. No longer catering to your old personality and your old identification with the body, because you are not that. That's the truth. You are not this body. You are not your thoughts. The more you try to convince yourself of it, the more you're going to suffer. And yes, that's what the majority is doing, right? They're convincing themselves that that's it until one day they leave the body and then poof, it's gone, right? All of us are experiencing this. Whether we're conscious of it or not is a whole nother conversation. So welcome again to the new infinite version of you. Start embracing these feelings. Start embracing these uncomfortable things that are arising within you, and know that your higher self has brought you to these feelings and experiences for a reason. Trust it. I know it's not going to be easy, especially in the beginning. Your lower self, your ego is going to get so fired up that it's going to want to control everything and interpret everything and file it away in some cabinet somewhere and label it as some category, and then there you go. Or you can do the opposite and understand that all of these things are going to continue to happen the more that you understand that you are spiritual and that you're not physical. The more that you can relate to the higher consciousness and getting in tune with the masters and whatever practice and discipline that you have, this is the thing that will bring more ease to your journey. Not trying to fit into what everybody else is doing, not trying to do what the old self was doing whatsoever. You have to do something completely new. You see that depression, that derealization symptom, all of these feelings, right, are happening because your avatar knows that you could do more. You now know the potential of life. It's not just about the 9 to 5, right? It's not about just breathing in all these chemtrails all the time and, eating this matrix food and then die and repeat. No, you're here to do so much more than that. Now that you've freed yourself from those limitations of the matrix, here you are. And again, these experiences are not comfortable. All you have to do is integrate them, and then the peace will come. You see? And then you emerge through all of this victoriously as the person who's doing selfless service. Think about all of those souls that are trapped right now in the matrix. All of those countless beings right now that are enslaved, literally. It's time to help them. It's time to fuel your energy, fuel all of this into selfless service. This is the key that will bring you out of that depression, out of that derealization symptom that has kept you in that lower vibration for far too long. Trust me, I know. It's something that will only go away when you allow it to go away. Remember, this all has to come from within. There is no other way around it. And until next time, guys, I really just want to let you know that you are not alone. And if you want to connect with other people who are experiencing these symptoms and who are on the spiritual path as well, join the Inner Circle group, get over to Patreon, get around all of this censorship. All right, the link is in the description of this video. If you're listening on the podcast, jump over to social media or theinfinitecup.com and sign up right now. Until next time, guys, I really, really appreciate you being here. Infinite love and infinite peace. I'm out.